A night of 3 young girls watching spooky videos on YouTube turns into a lesson on true terror. And then we take a look at the story of a young woman on a long night drive. When her eyes become heavy and it's time for her to sleep, she pulls off into a rest area. Little does she realize she's about to have a close encounter of the unkind kind. Today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. I hope you guys are having a great day too. I hope you guys are having tons of fun doing whatever you're doing. We got a ton of stuff to cover today. So first off, running into Dead Rabbit Radio command. Everyone get on your feet and give it up for Foppy. Woohoo, yeah, wee, haha, yeah, Foppy. Foppy's like, what am I doing here? I can't just come in, I'll explain it. Foxy, around December of last year, posted on their Instagram their Spotify Wrapped. What month is it? It's April. It's almost May. It's 5 months ago. Foppy posted their Spotify Wrapped showing how much they love Dead Rabbit. They got the word out about the show, which I always like to talk about. And that is why Foppy is going to be our captain or pilot this episode. If you guys can't support the show financially, just do what Foppy did. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know. Dead Rabbit Radio is your favorite paranormal show. That is how you can help the show grow. Okay, Foppy, let's go ahead and get started. Let's go classic. I'm going to go ahead and toss you the keys to the Jason Jalopy. Everyone climb on board as Foppy powers this bad boy up. It's actually a piece of junk car, but whatever. It's an old rickety chitty chitty bang bang car. Go ahead and turn that key and power this bad boy up. We're leaving behind Dead Rabbit Radio command. Foppy, why don't you drive us all the way out to a house in the suburbs. Nice leisurely drive all the way out to this house in the suburbs. We're about to take a look at the story of this family. We don't have an exact location or the names, but it's a story that is uniquely terrifying. And I'll have you asking, should I really be watching that spooky video? I know I love to watch spooky stuff, but even I have my limits. I watch movies. Obviously, I watch a lot of horror movies. And, watch everything horror-related. I recently watched The Housemaid. Fantastic film. Dead Rabbit Radio recommends The Housemaid. It was a thriller. So I'll watch everything from a thriller to stuff. I was looking at this movie the other day, and I don't know whether or not this is snuff. I don't know whether or not if someone was selling it on Amazon. I forgot how, or eBay or something. I came across this randomly. You're like, no, you weren't, Jason. You were looking for snuff. You were looking for torture porn. You're always talking about, I don't seek out, well, that's not true. I will watch movies that are torture porn, but I don't want to watch real people get tortured. But I was on Amazon or eBay or something like that. I'll put a link in the show notes. And I really had to look at this movie for probably about 10 minutes. I'm watching it. It's like, I don't know. That person does seem to be screaming for help really authentically. No, it was just like the cover of the movie. And it was just called Sexual Perversions. And the photos on the cover were just women tied up. And then most people would just click away. I was like, I wonder what this movie's about. And so, you can look at the back of the movie, and it was more women tied up. And it was these, let me pull it up. Now I want to get distracted. Let me go ahead and pull it up here real quick. Let the government know that I'm looking at this again. I was like, I can't tell whether or not this is a snuff film. And it's called The Serial Killer Collection is what it was. And I was over at Sabine's house and I said, I don't think I've ever mentioned this on the show before. I said, if I made snuff, I would totally sell it on eBay. It would be pretty easy to sell. And she goes, well, that's kind of a stupid idea. People would be able to find it easier. I don't know if I've ever told this story on the podcast before. A long time ago, right after I started the podcast, I found I'll see if I can still find it. It was sold at this point. I might have mentioned this before. There was a laser disc, a unlabeled laser disc being sold on eBay. And I think the price was $1,000 or $5,000, maybe even as high as $10,000. But it was an unlabeled laser disc. And in the description, the seller wrote, if you have to ask what this is, it's not for you. That's all that it said. That was the only description for it. And it did sell. Somebody knew what was on that and was willing to pay that price. Now, if I post the link, allegedly, I can't see this guy's selling snuff. I'll see if I can find the eBay store or whatever. I'm not saying he is selling snuff, but I don't know. It was interesting. And then like you look at his other things that he's selling, it was like Top Gun on Laserdisc or Tron. Like real Laserdisc movies with labels and reasonable prices. But this particular Laserdisc had no title. It was just blank, and it said, if you have to ask what it is, it's not for you. And I thought that would actually be a really good way to sell snuff. And anything else you had laying around your house as well. You're like, oh, look at all these HDMI cables. I don't need these anymore. I use them to strangle women. But now I strangle women via drone. I've upgraded to the 21st century. I'm going to sell this lot of HDMI cables for a penny on eBay. I came across this movie called The Serial Killer Collection. So I looked at, it had 4 titles here. Depraved, Crippled by Desire, To Love a Clown. That's like one of these is not like the other. And then The Lesser Evil. And then The Lesser Evil is a movie. The description is a woman is blackmailed into acts of humiliation. To Love a Clown, the description is the most demented killer of all derives amusement from the suffering of women. And I go, what is this? If I was murdering 4 separate women, you're like, Jason, you're doing a lot of hypotheticals on this. We get it. People can be weird. You don't have to keep putting yourself in that. I don't know if I would title the videos. I mean, I might, right? Man versus nature. And then I go, I kidnapped a hobo off the street and made him fight 15 rabid rats. So that's about as descriptive as you can get, man versus nature. Maybe I would come up with snappy titles for my movie. So I go, listen, this might actually be like some weirdo. So obviously a weirdo made this, but how weird? Actual snuff weird. And I thought, well, I'm going to type into IMDb one of these titles. And I think the one that I typed in, you're like, please tell me you typed in To Love a Clown first. No, I don't think I did that one. I think I did Crippled by Desire. And I was like, well, let's see if that's... I go, if it's on IMDb, I doubt it's a real snuff movie. But if I was making snuff, I would definitely put it on IMDb. How do you rate the murder of these people? So I pulled up Crippled by Desire, and it's the alternative name for a horror movie called Loving a Vegetable. Which to me is a way better title, right? That sounds awesome. Sounds like a VeggieTales creepypasta. Loving a Vegetable. It's about a woman in a wheelchair, and this guy attacks her. I mean, it's gross. And it was directed by Bill Zabub, which I don't know if I've ever talked about him on this show. I've watched a ton of Bill Zabub movies. Forgive me, Bill Zabub fans, all 2 of you that are listening to this podcast. They're horrible movies. Not horrible like content-wise. It's like, oh, how could a human record such filth? No, they're just really bad. They're so bad they're hilarious. Although, you can't just watch one randomly, because there is a chance you end up watching To Love a Vegetable or Loving a Vegetable. His movies can get pretty gross, and I haven't seen a lot of them. I've maybe only seen like 8 or 10 of them. He has 50. I've seen some of them that I just have shut off just because it was really tasteless. But I remember I watched one movie he did, I think it was called Scienceless Fiction. And the movies have no plot. It's usually just women tied up in the forest. And Scienceless Fiction, I think there was time travel. I think like a guy time traveled back to Arthurian times, and there was a woman tied up in the forest. And then the guy went into modern times, and there's a girl tied up in the forest. This is just garbage stuff. But anyways, Bill Zabub played a clown. People are going to think I'm making this up. He played a 2-inch tall clown who's trapped on a model train set. Let that sink in real quick. I should just get to the story, but I've never talked about Bill Zabub on the show before. Bill Zabub, he usually is in every scene, right? Because he's the director and they're low budget, but he was also a 2-inch tall clown trapped in a model train set. It had nothing to do with the plot. He wasn't a time traveler. He wasn't a tied up woman. He was just a tiny clown. And probably a combined total of maybe 30 minutes of the runtime of this hour-and-a-half long film the clown would be lecturing the audience. Like the clown's standing next to a model train and he goes, you know what? Society's falling apart. This is before Joker, by the way, right? This was actually probably gave the inspiration for the Joker movie. The world's falling apart. This clown's lecturing us. Don't you guys realize it? Can't you guys look around and see how bad things are? In fact, I was watching Prometheus the other night. And that was a bad movie. I don't think it's a sign that civilization is falling apart. But Beelzebub continues. He goes, case in point, the society's falling apart. I was watching Prometheus the other night, and I was in the theater, and it was an okay movie, and then all of a sudden, that white woman kissed that black guy. And I thought, what am I watching? What's going on? It made me sick to my stomach. And I looked around the theater, and no one else was reacting to this horrible, disgusting thing that was happening. A white woman was kissing a black man. Listen, man, your reaction to me saying that was my reaction to watching it. I go, what? So the clown's racist too? I thought he just raped people. I thought he was just a rapist, but he's also racist. And he talks, and then they'd cut to a woman being tied up in a tree or having a sword fight with someone and then getting tied up in the tree, the old-timey one. And then they'd cut back to the clown and he would start talking about interracial marriage again. Listen, here's the thing. You never know what to expect. But yeah, you kind of have to know what you're getting into. Some of them are so bad they're good. Some of them are just perplexing. I mean, I was like, wait, what? Then it would cut to a woman tied up and she's like, help me. And it's never like hardcore porn, a lot of boobs and sometimes full frontal nudity. And a woman would be like, no. And then like sword fight and some guy and then she gets tied up to a tree. And you'd be like bored. You'd be like, oh, great, boobs again. I've seen these 100 times. And then it would cut back to the clown and you'd be like, oh, not this again. The movie's like 2 hours long. I think it said it was an hour and a half earlier. It felt like 5 hours long. I remember every time they cut back to the clown and you're like, oh my goodness. Because you knew what he was going to say. He was going to say all this horrible stuff. Why is he 2 inches? Why is he a clown? Why is he racist? They never explain any of that. So anyways, listen, man, I would recommend those movies if you know what you're getting into. If you want to watch a terrible movie, if you just want to be like shaking your head the whole time, you're like, what am I watching? What am I watching? And he very famously has movies like Jesus Christ, Vomit King, or something like that. Like he's all about, that's not an actual title. Trust me, the title that he had was worse. I don't remember it off the top of my head. But he's very, like shock. Tries to be a shocking director. You go, well, Jason, anyone can make up a bad title. I don't think anything's as bad. Oh yeah, so my example was Jesus Christ, Vomit King. He did Jesus the Total Douchebag. Jesus Was an Asshole. These are separate movies, by the way. Sicko the Blood Clown. That's a new one. I can guess what that one's about. I can guess what Sicko's up to. And then he did Santa Claus, Serial Rapist. These are all real movies. Nightmare on Elmo Street. I watched that one. It was terrible. It was really bad. Like, oh, really? From that title, Jason? I thought that was going to be quality entertainment. Scienceless Fiction was the worst. Zombie Christ is another one. He hates Christians. He's really against Frankenstein the Rapist. You're kind of like losing. I mean, like, I get it. You're just naming different characters now. Jesus Christ, Serial Rapist. So I think you can kind of get... what's the word? Overview or whatever. You can kind of see what he's going for. Apparently, he came out with a movie called Dick Shark, and that went kind of viral back in the day. And it was about a severed penis that turned into a shark, or a shark that turned into a severed penis. I don't remember. That was one of the ones that I just shut off, not because it was tasteless, it was just boring. I mean, if you can't pull that movie off, if you make that movie drag on, you're not a very good director. But yeah, I saw a bunch. I didn't watch the Jesus Christ ones, but I watched the Scienceless Fiction, the worst horror movie ever made. Jesus does show up in his movies, and he's usually doing something totally inappropriate. But, yeah, anyways. So, what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about these jump scare videos. Speaking about jump scare videos, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go out... super distracted. You're like, wait, what? Dick Shark? How can you just blaze over these titles and be like, oh yeah, so anyways, let's talk about, we should do a viewing party of one of his movies. I mean, obviously, whatever streaming site we used to do that would get us shut down. We'll see if Twitch is up to it. Let's go ahead and talk about this jump scare video. This story I've wanted to talk about for a while. We kept running out of time. I said, I'm going to do it first. I want to do it the first story. And then, of course, I talk about Frankenstein the Rapist for 20 minutes. But let's do this. We're about to meet 3 young girls. First one, the person who posted the story online, we're going to call her Clara. And she says, she goes, this story happened when I was younger. She goes, I was quite young. She doesn't give an exact age. She says, it happened when I was young, but I'm old enough to remember all the details. And her family has talked about this event afterwards as well. So it wasn't just like a false memory of a child. So I probably put her around probably 7 or 8, I would guess. She has an older sister who we will call Nancy. And then she has a sister. She has 2 older sisters. There might be more in the family, but we're only going to reference her 2 sisters. Clara was the youngest of the 3. The oldest we will call Nancy. In the middle of these girls we'll call Jade. Younger than Nancy, older than Clara. It's a nighttime, but not super late at night. Nancy's at the home computer. The computer is set up in the family room, so it's right next to the living room. The parents are watching the television. Clara's sitting there watching TV. Jade's sitting there watching TV, but Nancy is online, and she's laughing. Just having a good old time online. Nancy goes, hey, Clara, come over here. You got to check this out. You got to come and see what it is. You got to see what this clown has to say. Or get his views on the movie Prometheus. Nancy goes, hey, Clara, come here. I want to show you something. And Clara's like, okay. So she walks over there. Nancy goes, watch this. And she starts a video. And it's a normal video, right? Like a guy kind of walking through the forest. Now I'm distracted by the stupid Beelzebub stuff. Let's get out of that. A guy's walking downtown, not anywhere near the forest where anyone's tied up. And he just seems to be having a good time. And Nancy goes, okay, so watch this part where he reaches down to pick up the penny. And the guy reaches down to pick up the penny. And then, boom! Jump scare video. A monster appears on screen, close up. The audio is loud. Clara jumps backwards. Oh, man, that was creepy. Nancy's laughing. I know, aren't those hilarious? These jump scare videos. That wasn't the exact video she saw, which will become an issue later on, but that was just an example. Nancy goes, pretty funny, huh, right? That scared you. And Clara's like, yeah, that was scary. But, Clara just kind of brushed it off. I got her heart racing a little bit, but it wasn't so scary. She's going to have a hard time sleeping that night. It's not so scary. She immediately starts crying. She just kind of laughs it off. Starts walking back into the living room, and that's when Nancy says, hey, Jade, come check this out. Come check out this video. Another victim, Nancy thinks. Clara walks back to the living room. She's sitting down watching television, and it's not even that long. It's just been a few moments since Clara walked away from the desktop. She knew what Nancy was going to show Jade. She didn't warn her. Clara's sitting on the couch with her parents, and all of a sudden, Jade lets out this blood-curdling scream. And Clara knows exactly what prompted that. Nancy showed her the jump scare video, the video that she just saw. But there was something about the way Jade screamed, the way she yelled. It sounded visceral. It sounded so deep inside. It was alarming. Even knowing that someone was going to squeal, this was different. Clara turns and looks at the same time her parents look over towards Jade and Nancy at the computer to see what the reaction was. Not even Clara screamed like that. And when the family looks over to the computer, they see Nancy sitting there at the computer and Jade still screaming. She's standing there and her entire body is shaking uncontrollably. Mom gets up off the couch. She's the first one there, and she wraps her arms around Jade. She's like, honey, what's the matter? What's the matter? Dad, his first thing he says, what did you show her? Nancy, what did you show her? Mom's taking care of the comforting, Dad's taking care of the confrontation. What in the world are you showing your sisters? And Jade can't stop screaming. Her body is still shaking. It's shaking, and then she just goes limp. Jade goes completely limp while her mother is holding her. What a terrifying sight that would be, to look at your own daughter and watch her just... Ugh. Clara is up over at the computer area now as well. Nancy's like, I was just showing her this video. I showed it to Clara. Clara's even younger than her. She didn't freak out. And the dad's like, oh my God. Clara's standing over there, and she turns and she looks and she sees Jade motionless, but, conscious. She just has no rigidity. She's just still limping her mother's arms. Clara goes, I looked at my mom. I thought this was interesting. She said, quote, I remember my mom looking terrified in a way I had never seen before, unquote. That would be something, right? You've seen your mother worried. You've seen your mother angry. You've seen your mother sad. You may have even seen your mother scared from time to time. But this was different. Clara looks at her mother and she knows this is bad. What's interesting, on the one hand, you could go, this seemed like a seizure. Flashing lights, photosensitivity. What was the video? Maybe Jade had epilepsy, undiagnosed. What's interesting is this family, their first step, this kind of shows where their belief system is. Their first step is to actually call a pastor. They call their local minister. They say, hey, listen, my daughter, Nancy showed Jade this spooky video, and all of a sudden Jade started flipping out, and now she's conscious. She's not unconscious, but she's limp. She's just gone completely muscleless. She's like, what, is that a word? I don't know, Pastor, please. I think something's happening to my daughter, something spiritual. So the pastor says, hey, listen, let me get ready. Because, it's nighttime. Everyone's kind of just down for the night. You take her to the church. I'll meet you at the church. Well, going to have to do an exorcism, I guess. They believe this is a spiritual attack. Clara, she said, as my dad goes out to get the car ready, and my mom's, getting stuff ready. We're going to leave very shortly. And she goes, I was sitting next to Clara on the bed. They had moved to one of the bedrooms. She goes, Clara goes, I was sitting next to Jade on the bed, and at one point I put my hand on hers, and I said, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. She said, when I put my hand on her hand, the first thing I realized was how cold she was. Cold to the touch. But before I had a chance to really kind of think about what could cause her to be so cold, when I put my hand on hers, I felt how cold she was. But immediately, Jade's head snaps, not off. You're like, oh no, a kid's dead. No. Snaps focus, right? Jade's just kind of sitting there. Clara goes, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And touches Jade's hand. Jade's neck snaps over and she's staring directly at Clara now, sitting next to her on the bed. Clara's looking at Jade. Jade is looking at Clara. And Clara goes, I'm looking at my sister, and her eyes are completely black. This isn't my sister, Clara thinks. This isn't my sister anymore. But Clara says I had this overwhelming feeling that my sister was gone. I didn't know what was going on, but this wasn't my sister. She goes, but at the same time, I had the thought, no, this is my sister. She's in there somewhere. She's just not in control. They take Jade, they take Clara. I think they left Nancy at home, honestly. They may have taken her as well. They go to the church. And by the time they get there, their minister is there, and there's a few other people there. I'm sure the minister called up a couple of the deacons as well. Or even, his wife. A lot of times when you're a minister, you kind of have a support staff. And you are on call sometimes because spiritual matters don't go a 9-to-5 schedule. They take Jade into the church, and the minister and other members of the church staff, possibly deacons, possibly, begin praying over her. Clara's standing there, and she's watching this. watching this group of people pray over her sister, and all of a sudden Jade starts screaming. Once again, she's been pretty silent since this all started, but she starts screaming again, and Clara goes, it wasn't her voice. It wasn't her voice. It was something else. She said it was low. It sounded distorted. But even if it sounded... regardless of even those details, it was not her sister speaking. And she hears this thing speaking through her sister, just screaming over and over again, "It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts," just over and over again. Claire was watching this for just a few moments before her dad actually reaches down and picks her up to block her view. He doesn't want her seeing this. In the moment, nobody knows if this is even going to work, right? You take your kid to the minister and you hope that this exorcism's gonna, but you don't know, right? The fear everyone must be feeling in that moment. Dad picks up Clara so she can't see, kind of blocks her view. And Clara goes, I did kind of block my view, but I was able to kind of peek over every now and then to kind of see what was going on. She goes, at one point I peeked over and I saw Jade. She was on the ground and she was just twisting around on the ground, contorting her body. She goes, I don't even know how you could get that twisted. Never existed, ripping my axe, double fisted, and if you blink, you missed it, I'm twisted. No love. Not the rapper, right? she's all crunk and she's all dancing. No, just like the way her body was moving. She goes, I don't even know. And that, when she saw that, she understood why her dad didn't want her to see it, and she actually stopped peeking over. Because she didn't want to see it either. She goes, I watched my sister's body just kind of contort on the ground, and I just kind of stopped looking. And then shortly after that, Jade is just laying on the ground, breathing normally, talking normally, exhausted, but otherwise fine. And Clara said that her parents said thanks to the minister and the other church members, and we got Jade and we got back into the car and we headed back home, and we never talked about it again. Not even on the car ride home. Not even right after it happened. She goes, we just drove home, went to bed, and never talked about it again. Until a couple of years later, Clara asks Jade about it. She goes, hey, I know we've never talked about the time you got possessed by a demon from a spooky video, and we'll get more into the implications of that in a second. But she goes, Jade, we've never talked about this as a family. We've never even talked about this one-on-one as sisters. What happened that night? Do you remember that? When you watched that video and you freaked out? Jade goes, oh yeah, no, I totally remember that. I can tell you exactly what went on. As far as her experiences went. Jade says, I was watching the video with Nancy, and it's just the jump scare video. Everyone's seen dozens, if not hundreds of these. Probably dozens is a better estimate. People have seen dozens of these over the years. She goes, I'm sitting there and I'm watching the video, and when the jump scare happened, I felt something jump into me. Right when the scary face appeared, right when the music got loud, the big sound effect, I felt something physically force itself into my body, like this shockwave. Something came out of the monitor and got into me, and the world went black. I couldn't see anything at that point. I began screaming, and I began convulsing, and even though I couldn't see anything at that point, I knew exactly what was going on because I felt myself outside of my body. The world went completely black, and the next thing I know, I have a third-person view. I'm looking down on my body. I see Nancy sitting next to me. I see our parents run into the room. I see you come into the room, but I'm floating above all of it. I'm not a part of my own body anymore. Something else is in there. I felt it enter me physically and force me out. She goes, when I was looking at my body, when I was watching all of this play out, Mom wrap her arms around me, watching my body go limp. What I could see was, I'm hovering above this whole scene. I could see my body, but then I saw something else there. I saw two entities in the same place at the same time. Myself, and then this other demon, devil, spirit. She never really says exactly what it is. She never really even gives it any descriptors other than she said whatever was inside of me, and then I could see it in the same place that I was taking up. I mean, right there, that's a trip, right? We talk about two things can't exist in the same place at the same time. Try to imagine seeing two people standing in the exact same place at the same time, and you see both of them with perfect detail. And not one is not distorted the other. You really can't even imagine that. But when we talk about the world of the paranormal, it very often breaks the laws of physics. She goes, the thing inside of me, the only signifier, the only descriptor she could use for this thing is it had no eyes. So again, that, I don't mean to keep starting and stopping, but I find this so intriguing. You get possessed by something that has no eyes, it would make sense that you would go blind. Because you're both in the same place at the same time. And now Jade's soul is kind of removed from her body. It's just floating there. She said, I was really worried when, all this stuff's going on. Obviously, I'm worried. I got this entity inside of me. She goes, but one of the moments that I was scared the most was when I was in the bedroom and you were sitting next to me. Because I saw that. I was floating above the body and I saw that happen. I saw you reach over and grab my hand and my head, its head, our head, however you want to describe it, turned and looked right at you. She goes, in that moment, I thought that it was going to leave me and jump into you. I thought you were going to be its next victim. I was really scared that that was going to happen. Jade said when the exorcism, they were praying over her. This all seemed to be like very, very early spiritual intervention. I don't know if they did. A full exorcism tends to have a lot of setup. Different denominations, different religions obviously will have different setups, but being able to throw one together in the heat of the moment, it's most likely they did simply pray over her and it wasn't a full exorcism because this event just happened. Jade said, when I remember being at the church, I remember everyone praying over me, and I remember screaming out loud, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. She goes, I didn't feel a thing. I didn't feel a thing. I mean, I am floating 2 feet out of my body, but I'm still that physical form. She goes, I wasn't in pain at all. I could tell, though, that the thing inside of me truly was in pain. What they were doing was causing it actual pain. Even though it was speaking through my mouth, I was in no discomfort at all. This thing, though, was experiencing great pain. She said, Jade continued, when the minister and the church members stopped praying, the next thing I knew, I was just back in my body, laying on the ground. And I was exhausted, but I was even more terrified than exhausted. She goes, I was laying there on the ground, and I thought, oh my God, this thing is just going to come back into me. Like, it's going to come back into me right now. And that fear Jade had for a while after that, obviously you would wonder, if something just entered you like that, you would wonder, oh my God, is this going to happen again? And will I ever feel safe again? Will it come back later this month, a year from now, 10 years from now? But it never did. It never did return. It never did repossess Jade. Clara said, she goes, looking back on it, I think I was too young to really understand. The video jumped up and it scared me, but I think I was too young to really get too worked up about it. She goes, I don't think I really understood what I was seeing. Something jumped up and it made a loud noise, and my older sister showed it to me and I didn't think much of it and I just turned and walked away. She said Jade had always been a scaredy cat. Jade had always been easily spooked. And Despite the fact that Clara was younger, which you think would make a more opportune victim, it'd be easier to possess someone who's younger, whose psychic defenses aren't as well built up. Which, I mean, it's possible. People who don't believe in demons can still get possessed by demons, but Clara goes, I think it's because I just was not a big scaredy cat, and I didn't really understand what I was seeing. My older sister was showing me something loud, and monster popped up, and I just was like, okay, and I walked away. Jade was always a scared kid. And she goes, I think that actually made her more prone to being possessed by whatever this is, because she's constantly on. Before this happened, she was very easy to startle. So when this jump scare video happened, it actually completely shattered any defenses that it scared her so bad it knocked down her psychic wall. Which that does make sense. I'm a big scaredy cat, for sure. I get startled very easily, and I do think that that is a weakness. That's not a strength. And I think that's a weakness spiritually as well. It doesn't, I mean, it makes me look like a big wimp, but also because if things can easily startle me when I don't like walking through the darkness without a light. There's nothing in the darkness. There's nothing in this place to be afraid of, but I still don't like to do it. So the time that I do walk through the place, light or not, and I see a man standing in the corner of the room, the shock of that, because I'm already expecting it. I expect it every single time the lights go out. I expect it every single time I walk outside at night to see something shocking and scary. A little 2-inch tall clown hanging out by the dumpster. Hey, let me talk to you, buddy. I think the shock hits more. It's not. I think a normal person is not as scared as much as I am. And if they walked out into the front yard and they had to take the garbage out and they saw someone standing at the edge of the driveway, their first thought is going to be, it's a shadow, it's a trick of the light. Their second thought is going to be like, hey, buddy, are you okay? Hey, bud, you doing okay? They're going to approach it like a rational person. I would see it and I would immediately think it was some sort of boogeyman, and I would get too scared. I really do think being as scared as I am is a net negative to my psychic defenses. So I understand that would put Jade on the back foot. I totally see how that could lower her threshold to put up with this. I think the story is really interesting for two reasons. One, we have the story of, let's call a spade a spade. Everything she experienced is a symptom of a seizure. Seeing yourself outside of your body, people who have some people who have seizures experience that. That's not unusual. Obviously the shaking and the body going limp, signs of a seizure. Being unresponsive, signs of a seizure. All of this stuff, it very well could have been a normal medical event that was treated in a spiritual way, and the seizure, the medical event ended naturally, and it was considered a spiritual moment, a spiritual event, because they took her to the minister and the minister prayed over her. It's very possible that had they taken her to the hospital, she also would have recovered perfectly fine. Then they would have been able to say, wow, it was a very terrifying medical event. This video had something in it, flashing lights or a shock or whatever, that triggered a seizure. The only thing that really makes it not be a seizure, but I would accept that as an answer. I 100% would accept this. This girl had a seizure and they took her to the church and she was cured, but she could have been just as easily cured at a doctor's office or a hospital. The fact it was just a timing thing at the church. The seizure was going to end. I don't know how vocal people. I've seen people have seizures in my life. It's not fun. I mean, you're not pulling up a popcorn and sitting next to them, making sure they're not swallowing their tongue while you're kicking back. You just put your foot in their mouth. They actually don't very often swallow their tongues or ever, but sometimes they do. But anyways, the point is that it could have just been timing. It could have been a medical event. The thing that makes me think it's not a seizure was obviously Clara seeing her sister with the black eyes. But again, someone who has a seizure, they can appear not like themselves. Their brain is malfunctioning. I remember one day, it wasn't a seizure, but a couple of years ago, Sabine came over to my house. My friend Sabine, if this is your first episode, my good friend Sabine, She came over to my house and I was taking a nap and I heard a knock on the door and I stood up and started walking right to my door. And I realized about 4 or 5 steps into my journey, I had gotten up too quickly and the blood was not able to rush to my head. And as I'm getting closer to the door, I start to lose my balance. This was a couple of years ago. And I get to the door, I open it up, and when I open the door, Sabine looks at me, and obviously I can't see my face, but I can see hers. And she looks so worried. And I say I got up too quickly. And I'm kind of catching myself on the door. You know, obviously I didn't fall. I caught myself, and I just kind of stood there and waited till the blood flow caught up. We talked about it. She goes, Jason, it was the weirdest thing. You opened the door and you didn't look like yourself. She said your eyes were different. She goes, I was looking into someone else's eyes. And that's why I saw the look on her face, like she didn't know what was going on. Was I having a heart attack? Was I having a stroke? That was the thing she noticed. She goes, you were not the same person. Your eyes were different. Not pitch black. But again, remember Clara's age as well. So this is a really interesting story, right? Because I totally believe in demonic possessions. I totally believe in the existence of cursed videos. That's the other thing that we haven't really touched on. The fact that possibly out there are cursed YouTube videos, these jump scare videos that it's a 1 in a million shot that the right person or the wrong person views them at the wrong time and it knocks down their psychic defenses and an entity enters you. I 100% believe that's possible, as ludicrous as that sounds. But it's very possible that this was just a medical event. So that's what I kind of like about this story. We can decide, how do you feel? How do I feel about it? I think, obviously, I'm always kind of, if I had to choose a side, if I couldn't say, well, I would say that it was a spiritual possession. Honestly, just because it's kind of cooler, but because I don't know either way. It's fascinating if it is just the seizure, because you could see how a seizure could be quote-unquote cured when it simply just ran its course, but it ran its course at a church while they're praying over her. But the idea of I'm not saying demonic possession is cool, but I'm saying that as a paranormal story, it's also very scary, and I think the idea is you have the initial narrative and then years later revisiting it is an interesting narrative device. We don't see that a lot in these stories, but we often see people saying, and our family never talked about it again. That's where a lot of these stories end. We have this crazy event happen, and we haven't addressed it since. But yeah, so seizure or possession, and if it is a possession, then you do have to admit that there are videos out there like this. And the question is, was the video filmed in such a way so it can be a portal for demons to interact with people or possess people? The person who made this video, were they trying to have that as a purpose? Or was it a video that was so scary and it was just a one-off chance that it affected Jade in this way? There just happened to be a demon in the vicinity. See, that one to me sounds more, it could be possible, but they never talked about the house being haunted before this. If we go down the theory that this was a spiritual attack, I would assume the video was made in the way that it actually had a demon or a negative entity in the video itself. And this is its gateway into our world. And it attacks not the youngest, it attacks not the oldest and most frail, it attacks the people who are the most scared of it. Which is a terrifying thought. It's a vehicle for a demon, and it allows it to attack the people that are the most terrified of, well, everything. It latches on to fear. And in the end, just feeds off of it. And instilled a fear in Jade that she hadn't had previous to this. Jade never sat around before this and thought, oh, I hope I never get possessed. Wouldn't that be creepy if I got possessed? Even though it was expelled, it left a brand new fear inside of her, and that's the fear that at any moment this thing could return. And once again, push her out of her own body. A video created to be a doorway. A very effective doorway. It doesn't have to be like the Ring video where everyone who watches it gets cursed. It only has to work on certain people, the most fearful of us. And that's why it uses a scary video, a jump scare video. Maybe not just a doorway, but also a test. So the next time someone tries to show you a jump scare videos haven't been a thing since like 2003. Well, probably it's a good thing. But if anyone ever tries to show you a jump scare video, maybe not look. Maybe go, nah, I'm good. I like my eyes to not be black. And you just walk away. People are like, what? What is that guy talking about? And then a little clown pops out and he goes, yes, the best eyeballs are white. They're all white. Who ever thought about having black eyeballs? Your boss is like, wait, what? Well, who's that little clown and why is he being so racist? Well, Foppy, you know what? We don't have enough time to tell that last story. Now, I know there's 15 minutes of me talking about Beelzebub. I could edit that stuff out, but I actually think it's pretty interesting. I mean, it's basically a movie series, a director you've never heard of, and then me telling you not to watch it. It's not the most compelling topic, but I enjoyed it. I mean, it was just me basically reading off movie titles, talking about racist clowns, but we don't have enough time to talk about the last story, and I will say I did end up recording a segment. We're going to save it for tomorrow. It was just too long. There's adding another half hour to this episode. We're going to do it tomorrow. A little teaser. It's about whether or not you're going to be like, Jason, put it in. This episode, it's too long. Whether or not Alex Jones is the cosmic jester entity. Because I've had some really weird interactions with Alex Jones over the years. I'm pretty sure he's rewriting history on the fly. But that'll be in tomorrow's episode, and a little teaser for you. I will end it like this. Foppy, we'll have you back for tomorrow's episode. I will end this episode like this, though. Maybe give you guys something to think about and to message me on. Post it on the YouTube comments. You know, we covered this topic with the scary jump scare video. I wonder about this all the time because I watch a lot of horror content, a lot of spooky stuff. And it always makes evil look so cool, right? The demon design is always really, like, dope. Big, muscular monsters. Racist clowns. I'm sure that speaks to some of you out there. Maybe that's what you're into. Evil always looks really cool. And you wonder how, like I do, I watch so much of this content and I go, why aren't there more blessed videos out there? And before I continue with that, yeah, I get it. There's like church sermons and Amy Grant songs and stuff like that. And I love Amy Grant. Just so we're very clear, I've had a lifelong crush on Amy Grant, and I do like her music as well. But it's not as cool as Metallica, right? And Metallica's not satanic or anything like that, but it was just the first thing that popped in my head. Amy Grant is not as cool as Twisted. Twisted's not really satanic either, but they do rap a lot about the occult and horror themes and stuff like that. I love Amy Grant. I love me some Twisted. But when they're compared against you, who's Twisted? That was the song that popped in the middle of the episode. Which, who knows, by the time you listen to this, I may have had to remove it for copyright reasons, but rap duo. And they rap about cool stuff, but it's dark themes. I like dark themes. Why isn't good stuff, why isn't blessed things cooler in the media? And the easy answer is that, and now I feel bad because I'm not roping Twisted into this, but I guess the easy answer is that if the media, if Hollywood is controlled by the Illuminati, they're all into these satanic rituals and stuff like that, of course they're going to make the demons look cooler. But I mean, just like think about it, like what is visually cooler, or even storyline cooler? A group of teenagers find a box in the basement and they open it up and then this huge demon comes out of it and it's like messing with people. I don't even have to make up an example. What's cooler? What's visually cooler? What storyline's cooler? The Wishmaster series, about a djinn being released from an amulet in the first movie, and he's this big, bulky monster man. And if you say anything wrong, if you're in around this guy at all, the Wishmaster, he gives you the wish. Like, there was that, I think it was Wishmaster 1 or 2, where a hot girl walks by and a bodyguard goes, man, I'd love to be a pimple on her ass. Which I've never heard anyone say. I've never heard anyone say that before, ever. But maybe in Hollywood, that's a common phrase. Man, I'd love to be a pimple on her ass. And then the Wishmaster goes, done. And then I'm not making this up unless Alex Jones is playing another time-altering trick on me. Then the guy actually does become a pimple on her ass. His face is all, no! And it's like a bump on her skin. That is in the movie, right? I didn't just make that up. You're like, Jason, that sounds like something you clearly made up. The Wishmaster's always doing stuff like that. The Wishmaster goes to prison in Wishmaster 2. It's a fantastic film series if you haven't seen it. Wishmaster goes to prison, and who has more wishes than criminals, convicts? And the Wishmaster sitting in prison. He has a human form, by the way. He's not an 8-foot-tall djinn in the court docket as they're sentencing him. He's a normal-looking guy most of the time. And he's talking to this other inmate, and the inmate goes, my lawyer, he just needs to go F himself. And the Wishmaster goes, do you wish it? The convict goes, yeah, I do wish that he F'd himself. He actually says the word. It's a rated R movie. And then the next scene is that convict being interviewed by his lawyer, and the lawyer's like, dude, I got great news for you. I think I figured out a way to get you out of prison. It turns out that the prosecutor did all this stuff, and the convict's like, oh, that's awesome. And then the lawyer goes, oh, what's wrong with me? And then his lower half of his body twists around, and he starts having anal sex with himself. Because he wished that he would go F himself. You're like, Jason, wait a second. He said you didn't have enough time because you spent the first 15 minutes talking about Beelzebub. Now you're just talking about different movies. And I don't know if you're telling the truth. No. What was I... Oh, yeah. So anyways, that's cool. Those are cool setups. This is a crazy horror movie. Who would have ever thought you would see stuff like that? Dead Rabbit Radio recommends the Wishmaster series. But what's cooler, that, or... And I've seen this whole series as well, God's Not Dead. It's just this kid walking around campus saying, you guys say that God's dead, you atheist college professor, I want to debate you about the existence of God. Nobody has sex with themselves in that movie. Nobody becomes a pimple. Boo! Boo that series. I actually do watch a lot of those Christian movies as well. Now, I watch them for a different reason. Normally, it's because they're not good, and I'm always in for a laugh. Now, I mean, to be fair, I watch them because I know they're not going to be good, and I like bad movies. That tends to be why I go, oh, God's Not Dead. It sounds kind of like a ridiculous premise. It sounds like it'll be really preachy, sanctimonious. God's Not Dead 3 is not bad, actually. But anyways, my point is that you have really cool evil movies, I don't think the filmmakers of Wishmaster are evil by nature, but you guys know what I'm saying. Like, why does evil always look cooler than blessed people? Like, just people walking around praying and stuff like that. That's not really cinematically cool. Like, visually. I'm not, you're like, wait, what? Are you telling us to not pray? I'm all, lame, boo! Where's the Wishmaster? Hey, Wishmaster, are you here? Walking around church. Actually, Wishmaster 4 took place in a church. He fights angels. It's a pretty dope movie series. I'm actually disappointed they've stopped making Wishmaster movies. My point is though, I gotta stay on task here. Why is it that evil stuff looks so cool on screen and evil storylines are more compelling? I'm not saying that it has to have a terrible ending, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I watch so many movies, and I could watch, you go, Jason, just watch more religious movies. A lot of them are boring. They're boring, and I watched Revelation Road. That actually is a Christian action post-apocalyptic movie series, and the second one is probably one of the best Christian movies I've ever seen. The problem is the first one was not good at all. And to even understand what's happening in the second one, you'd have to watch the first one. First one is about a door-to-door bulletproof vest salesman who's also John Wick. Which sounds awesome, just from that beginning sentence, but then they just sit and talk for large parts of the movie, and he builds all these relationships with all these characters. And at the ending, the rapture happens. That's the ending of the first movie. And then the second movie is basically Fury Road, but with Christians. They're all, witness me, and then they're all preaching as they're jumping from car to car. Here's the thing. Out of all of the movies I've seen, all the religious movies I've seen, Revelation Road, the ocean, what is it? The Sea of Fire and Glass is what it's called. Revelation Road, the Sea of Fire and Glass. Tell me that's just not an awesome title. That's the only one that I've ever, recommended to people. I go, you gotta watch the first one. The first one stinks. That's just, I find it very interesting. It's not just me, right? I think I do watch a lot of horror content. It is cooler looking. The storylines are cooler than religious content. And why is that? Is it because evil naturally looks cooler? I don't think that's the reason why. But in films, it does. In books, it does. It's always more compelling, creepier. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But there's no blessed jump scare videos. No one's ever been like, guys, come over here, watch this. And then you're watching a video of a car driving around a mountain pass, and all of a sudden Jesus pops up in a frame and says, be better. You know what I mean? Because it wouldn't work. You can make scary videos way easier than you can make compelling religious videos. That's what I'm saying. So, there we go. I mean, basically, I know I don't have enough time to tell the Alex Jones story. I ended up talking about a new movie series that I would recommend over Beelzebub's movies. But yeah, I'd be interested in hearing what you guys think. Why is evil more compelling story-wise? I don't think in the real world. But the problem is that you watch this stuff and you're like, whoa, look at that cool muscular demon. Wow, look at that weak human. He's nothing but a pimple on that woman's butt. And I think subconsciously it does make us think that evil is cooler than good. But I don't think that's the case. I definitely know that's not the case in real life. It's very seductive to fall into those dark supernatural paths. It takes less work, right, than being a good religious person. Sure, I get all that, but I don't think in the real world. I mean, if I ask you, what would you rather do, be visited by a demon or visited by an angel? I think the obvious answer most people would pick would be like, oh, an angel, of course. I don't feel like I'm in any danger from the angel. But then I go, but the angel looks like Rick Moranis, and the demon looks like Darth Vader. And you're like, it's actually a good question. Do I want to have a blessed life, but I have to hang out with Rick Moranis every day? He doesn't act like Rick Moranis. He just looks like him. But then you could walk around Darth Vader standing there. People are like, why is that giant guy walking next to you? You're like, oh, this is my demon. He's walking around. You know what I mean? Or am I just kind of rambling at this point? Well, I don't think so. I could probably go on about this topic alone for 20 minutes, but I do have to wrap the episode up. And you know what? Let's wrap it up in the best way possible. Let's play a little more Twisted. Now, again, it's very possible that this episode gets copyright striked and all the music disappears. Why are you even playing this? You made one reference to Twisted earlier in the episode. Yeah, when I was editing it, I thought, oh yeah, I should drop some Twisted music in. But, if I get copyright striked, that's just the nature of the beast, as they say. DeadRabbitRadio@gmail.com is going to be our email address. You can also hit us up at Facebook.com/DeadRabbitRadio. TikTok is @DeadRabbitRadio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day, but I'm so glad you listened to it today. Have a great one, guys.
I'm a supernatural product of the occult. My skeleton goes with energy as a result. I'm a paranormal medium. I mean, I talk to dead people. Some are good, some are evil. No two are equal. Some like to talk big. They like to brag and boast. Some are aggressive, possess you, and use you as a host. Some are subtle, like to move your shit around with your car keys. When it's dark, make a spooky sound. I met a poltergeist in Cleveland back in 22. Stuck between the walls, he said he migrated from Syracuse. Dead topside, in need of a flesh suit. Hanging from the ceiling, looking down like the Babadook. Crawl inside a man's mouth till he start to puke. He is just another wicked soul I'ma have to rebuke. Wicked fascinations like I fell in love with homicide. I just wanna live forever, I don't wanna ever die. Tell me that I'm dead, I'm saying I won't disagree. I got a cemetery with the spirits trapped beside.
When people turn to healthcare for weight loss, they're looking for real support. That's why more people are choosing OrderlyMeds.com. Orderly Meds connects you with real doctors and access to proven GLP-1 medications like semaglutide and tirzepatide. No guessing, just a more supportive experience. And all shipped directly to your door in discreet packaging. Do your research. Ask questions. Then visit OrderlyMeds.com/podcast for an exclusive offer. That's OrderlyMeds.com/podcast. Individual results may vary, not medical advice. Eligibility required. See site for details.